A tense calm. New images from Kabul's airport show a stark contrast from the chaos just 24 hours ago. The Taliban's message outlining what happens next. President Biden is standing by his decision to withdraw after 20 years.
I cannot and will not ask our troops to fight on endlessly in another country's civil war.
His warning to the Taliban's leaders. New overnight, the U.S. will soon recommend booster shots for everyone. The timeline on when you could have to roll up your sleeve again, and the group first in line. She disappeared from her Putnam County bed 12 years ago. Today is Haley Cummings' 18th birthday.
She had to be there somewhere, but she wasn't.
Why her family says they believe she is still alive. One last lesson for your kids as they head off to college, the laundry hacks that could save them and likely mom and dad some money on this Tuesday, August 17th, 2021.
Live from the local station, the morning show starts now.
And that traffic alert is out of St. Johns County, where right now all southbound lanes of 95 are blocked after a serious crash. You can see on the left of your screen there. This is a live look through one of our DOT cameras. We can see this involves several cars and trucks. In fact, we've counted at least 4.
In front of all that emergency vehicle action right now, there is a mangled car just south of 9B. Lena Pringle's monitoring the backup. Lena, just a few minutes ago, we saw a helicopter take off from the interstate.
Now, here's Keith Pearson Toyota Time Saver Traffic.
Good morning. That's right. I couldn't identify what it was, but now we have a second helicopter that has just landed in this area within the past 3 or 4 minutes. So right now, if you are traveling, the best advice I can tell you is to take US 1 southbound as an alternate and then reconnect towards 95. So the traffic that was backed up on 95 southbound, this is right near County Road 210, and there is a rest area in this part of 95. And so what's happening is the traffic off of 95 is being redirected through the rest stop, and then they're connecting past the crash. Now, there was a good bit of delays when this first happened, so traffic is still moving very slowly through this detour. It's the only way that those cars that were stuck out there on 95 southbound when the crash happened could get off the interstate and try to continue on with their drive. Now, you can also see there are some northbound delays building as well. It looks like what they're doing, there's at least 4 cars involved in this crash, and it looks like they're trying to transport people who may be in the other vehicles, and they're getting them onto the northbound side. That's where we saw some of the ambulances driving from. So either way you split it, nowhere you travel through this, whether you're going northbound or southbound, this is a problem area, and it likely will be an issue throughout the rest of the morning rush. Now, right now, US 1 does remain delay free. Go ahead and show you out here on the map. There's a little bit of stop and go traffic, but it's going to be your best option for really both north and southbound travel if you're going from St. John's towards Duval or vice versa. So please go ahead and plan accordingly for that. FHP does not have a timetable on when these lanes will reopen. And by the seriousness of this crash, like I said, I do expect these lanes to be closed for the next few hours. So please plan accordingly as you hit the roads this morning. This is the only major issue that we're facing at this time. Otherwise, you do remain accident and delay free. As your Keith Pearson Toyota Time Saver Traffic.
Let me just clarify. We mentioned a couple of helicopters. They are obviously medical evacuation helicopters.
Now to our other big story. The situation at the airport in Kabul, Afghanistan is dramatically different this morning. Yesterday, we saw crowds of people, you'll remember, who were flooding the tarmac, desperate to escape the country. New video from a NATO official, though, shows this. It's an empty runway. And new this morning, flights, we've learned, have resumed after all travel was halted because of the chaos.
At one point, people were so desperate they tried to hold on to a military jet as it took off. Several people fell to their deaths. New video this morning shows a plane filled with British nationals and Afghans as they land safely in the UK. It is the first flight to arrive there from Kabul. And this is new video of the sun rising over Kabul, showing the black, red, and green Afghan flag still flying. The Taliban tried to calm nerves across the capital city, promising general amnesty and urging people to return to routine life. While there were no major reports of abuses or fighting in Kabul, many residents are staying home, afraid after prisons were emptied and armories looted. Talks are underway to build a more inclusive Afghan government that includes an invitation for women to play a role in the new regime. Many still want to leave. To help with the masses, 2 border crossings between Afghanistan and Pakistan are open every day. The U.S. is also preparing to take in thousands. President Biden says he stands by his decision to remove the military.
Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. The Afghan military collapsed, sometime without trying to fight.
One of America's top military commanders met face-to-face with senior leaders of the Taliban, urging them not to interfere with the evacuation at the airport.
We have made it clear to the Taliban, if they attack our personnel or disrupt our operation, the U.S. presence will be swift and the response will be swift and forceful. We will defend our people with devastating force if necessary.
The American people bankrolled the war on terror in Afghanistan and Iraq by an estimated $2 trillion. The president set September 11th, the 20th anniversary of the terror attacks, as the deadline to pull out of Afghanistan. But the Taliban didn't wait. Echoes of Khe Sanh, Hue, Tet. The parallels to Vietnam for many seem difficult to ignore. The fall of Saigon in April 1975 showed America's scramble out for all the world to see. President Biden said the exit from Kabul would not be harried. That apparently is not the case. Joining me on the morning show is Nancy Soderberg, former UN ambassador to the United Nations and currently visiting scholar and director of the Public Service Leadership Program at the University of North Florida. Good morning.
Good morning.
So the president finally addressed the issue yesterday afternoon. Did he adequately help us understand the logic behind the decision to move when he did and successfully explain the plan moving forward?
Yes, on the former and not on the latter. President Biden has been very firm that he does not want to hand this longest American war to a fifth president. He was very involved in the decision to go into Afghanistan after 9/11. For the viewers of Jacksonville, we are in Afghanistan because of 9/11, where the Taliban, the very same Taliban, gave safe harbor to Osama bin Laden as he planned and executed the 9/11 attacks, which killed over 3,000 Americans 20 years ago. And we went in to get bin Laden, ousted the Taliban, and tried to build democracy for 20 years. And President Biden, whose own son had served in the U.S. military, just was simply not going to hand it to a fifth. And he was very clear about that. But I think there's many questions. How did we not see that the Taliban was going to fall so quickly? Where was the failure of intelligence? Why was there no will whatsoever for the Afghan army to defend itself against the Taliban threat? The Taliban has been waiting in the wings for this day for 20 years. And on the anniversary of 9/11, we will have the Taliban flag flying over Kabul and the government that we helped build. So it is just a tragedy of enormous proportions that we will spend a lot of time figuring out how did we get to this just tragedy.
And how about discussing America's overarching goal in fighting the pernicious terrorism that challenges the global community as a whole?
That fight goes on. Apparently, President Trump made a deal with the Taliban, which said they will not let terrorists back on Afghan soil. We'll see if that holds up. The other piece of concern for Americans and the world is what's going to happen to the women and girls of Afghanistan. They were forced out of the workforce, not allowed to go to school. And overall human rights abuses of the Taliban were legion. They would behead people in the square and just execute people, cut off their hands. Just one of the absolute most horrific periods in that history. Is that all going to come back again? So the international community, I think, first of all, wants to make sure they do not become a hotbed of terrorism. And secondly, how can we join together and try and protect the women and girls? There's no easy answers here, and it's just absolutely heartbreaking to see these scenes. So number one, we're trying to get Americans out. Number two, we're trying to get those who have worked with the United States, both the contractors, there's a huge international community there that was helping to build peace and stability there. All of those people need to get out. That's the number one right now. There are planes and charters. Countries around the world are taking them. I'm working today in Kosovo, and Albania, and North Macedonia has agreed to take some of these refugees. So that's the current focus, but there will be a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking going on. Like, how did this tragedy happen.
Is the worst yet to come? And if so, what does the U.S. have to do to mitigate it?
That's the big question. Look, we had 5,000 troops in Afghanistan. Everyone, I think, agreed that it was time to come home. But if you look around the world, we have 30,000 troops in South Korea. We have another 50 in Germany. They've been there for generations. Is there some kind of international presence that would help keep the lid here? Is it too late? Can you turn the clock back and try and retake some of these cities? I don't think so. So yes, I think the worst is yet to come. I think having the Taliban in government in Afghanistan 20 years after 9/11, nothing good will come out of it. So my heart goes out to the people of Afghanistan who tried so hard over 20 years to try and build a stable society, and in the end didn't have the will to fight. And I do not understand it, quite honestly, but these pictures are just heart-wrenching.
Nancy Soderberg, as always, I appreciate your insights. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Jen.
New overnight, the U.S. will recommend COVID-19 vaccine boosters for everyone, regardless of age, as early as this week. The booster would be given 8 months after someone receives their second dose of the shot. Healthcare workers and nursing home residents would be among the first to receive them. They could be rolled out as soon as mid to late September, once the Food and Drug Administration gives its approval, of course, which is expected for the Pfizer shot in the coming weeks. The booster shot comes as Florida tries to get a hold of the high number of COVID-19 new infections. New COVID-19 antibody treatment centers are opening, however, across the state. In fact, here in Jacksonville, the center is moving to a new location in downtown. News for Jax reporter Brianna Andrews is live at the main library. Brianna, the new site is designed to be an option for long-term treatment.
Yeah, this new site here at the library is one of several long-term treatment centers opening across the state. The treatment center is inside the Library Conference Center near the entrance on Main Street. Researchers say monoclonal antibody treatments help your body by making it harder for the COVID-19 virus to reproduce. Patients can receive the treatment without a prescription or referral by an eligible healthcare provider. Doctors suggest getting the treatment as soon as possible after a COVID-19 diagnosis, or for people in high-risk groups if you've been exposed to someone with the virus within 10 days of them reporting symptoms. The treatment is administered in one sitting with a total of 4 doses.
So they'll draw up into 4 syringes, and then they'll go ahead and prep the site, inject the 4 syringes. Should just take but a couple of minutes.
It's important to note you can't simply show up to the library and get the treatment. You must register online. So of course we have all of the information that you need right on our website, news4jax.com. Reporting live from downtown, Brianna Andrews, Channel 4, the local station.
People in Haiti are still desperately waiting for medical treatment after that devastating earthquake hit on Saturday.
Roads are blocked and rescuers are struggling to reach the most affected areas. The response efforts taking time, leaving many in the community left to dig through the rubble to find bodies. Volunteers say there are not enough doctors nor medical supplies. At least 1,400 are dead and 6,000 are injured.
Now, Grace is also making the recovery process difficult. It's now a tropical storm as it moves off the island. Now, some areas are seeing heavy rain, strong winds. Look at all the water on the road. Similar, really, to what the Dominican Republic saw. The biggest concerns now are mudslides and flash flooding. And we want to remind you, in case you're just joining us, all southbound lanes of 95 blocked after that serious crash involving several cars and trucks.
Just south of 9B, apparently there are some serious injuries. We do know that 3 medical evacuation helicopters had to land and transport people to the hospital. It looks like some of that emergency equipment is moving out, so with any luck, some of those lanes will be opening soon. You can also see that there's a gaper block in the northbound side. Keep you posted throughout the morning. Lena's working on alternate routes. 7:19, you're watching The Morning Show.
Facing the fall, Putnam County students head back to school today, but some classrooms will remain empty. Several schools were closed as part of a long-term plan to revitalize the district.
Mr. Jax reporter Ashley Harding joins us live. And Ashley, some students are starting the year in unfamiliar territory.
They are, Bruce. The Putnam County School District closed 5 schools, so that means that 13 are opening, including this one right here. This is James A. Long Elementary School. We just heard them say in the last couple minutes over the loudspeaker that the gates are now open to start the first day of school. We do see some cars of parents ready to drop their kiddos off, but these closures here in the district mean some students are starting the year in different schools with different classmates. More changes are expected as well.
The sign outside Price Middle School in Interlochen warns campus closed. Across the county, the building for Jenkins Middle, once home to the Eagles, sits empty. Visual signs of big changes coming to Putnam schools. James Kelly is a former student.
So are you disappointed to hear that Jenkins Middle School has closed?
Well, I think it's a loss to the community.
The district says the closure is part of a bigger plan to enhance the community. Putnam Superintendent Richard Surensey says the changes will pave the way for newer and better facilities.
We have some schools that are built in the 20s and the 40s, and then the rest are 50s and 60s and 70s. So we're trying to provide the best facilities and the state-of-the-art technology that our students actually deserve.
Jenkins Middle School students are now going to Palatka High School, and students who attended the 6th grade Overturf Center will return to their elementary schools. Miller Middle is also now closed, and the 6th graders will now go to the elementary school. The 7th and 8th graders will head to the high school. The building for Mellon Elementary is now being used for children with special needs. The district's eventual goal is to build 9 new schools piece by piece with the best technology. To make that happen, voters would have to approve a $300 million referendum bond, likely to be on the ballot in November of next year. Kelly hopes the Jenkins building can still be used for kids in the community.
And one other change we do want to mention to you is Jenkins Middle School. You know, it had been named after Robert H. Jenkins Jr. He was a Medal of Honor winner who was killed in battle. He was actually originally from Interlochen. This is his picture here. But since that school is now closed, Interlochen Elementary School is now renamed this year Robert H. Jenkins Jr. Elementary School in his honor. And looking live here again at James A. Long Elementary School, as I mentioned in the last couple minutes, we heard someone over the loudspeakers say that the gates are now open. Parents can take their kiddos inside. Students can walk inside there as well. And you see that happening. You know, the bell's going to ring in just about 25 minutes. We are going to be here for that. We'll show that to you later on in the morning show. Reporting live in Putnam County, Ashley Harding, Channel 4, the local station.
Channel 4 is hosting a huge tailgate party for the Jags Monday Night Football matchup against the New Orleans Saints. And guess who's invited? You.
That's right. Very exciting here. So Monday, we kick things off with our pregame show, which begins at 7 o'clock. Then at 8, don't touch your TV because we are going to bring you the entire Monday Night Football game live right here on Channel 4. Then join us for our post-game show with reaction and from players as well as coaches. Lots of excitement. All right, so within the last few minutes, first responders have pulled away from that bad wreck we've been following on I-95 South in St. Johns County, maybe to try to clear some of the lanes. But as you can see, all of them are still blocked. You see there at the top of your screen, all that traffic's being diverted into a rest stop area there.
But as you can see, the wrecked vehicles, they are still very much blocking those lanes. It's going to be a while before that parking lot clears up. We'll keep you posted. Sky 4 headed to the scene. We'll give you an aerial view coming up. We expect major delays throughout the better course of the morning rush. Lena working on alternate routes for you. Stay with Channel 4.
You're watching Channel 4, the local station. Live with Jennifer Waugh, Bruce Hamilton, Melanie Lawson, Stacey Spanos. Time Saver Traffic with Lena Pringle, the Weather Authority forecast with Richard Nunn, and traffic and breaking news with Sky 4. The morning show continues.
Following a breaking traffic alert from St. Johns County, you can see Sky 4 making its way right now to a crash that has all southbound lanes of 95 blocked. It involved a number of cars and trucks.
We know at least 3 people were transported to the hospital within the last 30 minutes. Lena Pringle is monitoring the backup. Lena, it is pretty intense.
Now, here's Keith Pearson Toyota Time Saver Traffic.
Good morning, drivers. Here is a better look at the scene right now. We can see all of those emergency vehicles have left, and it looks like there are about four vehicles that are still out there on the road. Haven't seen any signs of a tow truck coming this way at this time, so I still advise you to please take US 1. I am tracking a bit more of delays out there. If you're hitting the roads right now, it looks like drivers, if you're traveling on US 1, a little bit of stop and go traffic, which is to be expected, but it is at least flowing a bit more smoothly than what we're seeing out there. So right now I am tracking those northbound delays and southbound delays. Just to give you a reminder, this is 95 southbound, right at the county line between Duval and St. John's. There is a rest stop where traffic was being diverted to. I'm trying to find a better view so you can see some of the backups, so you can please avoid this area if you're traveling. So here's a live look. So this is 95 at State Road 9B. It looks like the heaviest of backups start right just north of this area, but you can see it's virtually a parking lot. Traffic barely able to move. These are likely the same cars that were stuck here about an hour ago when this first happened. So even though those delays are building on US 1, it still remains your best alternate route for now until those 95 southbound lanes reopen. Outside of this major issue, I'm still not tracking any other problems if you're traveling anywhere else around the city except for right here in St. Johns County. That is your Keith Pearson Toyota Time Saver Traffic.
Thank you, Rich. 34 minutes after 7 o'clock. 12 years ago, Haley Cummings disappeared in the middle of the night from her Putnam County bed. She was just 5 years old at the time. She's been missing ever since. For those of you who followed this massive search for the kindergarten in February 2009, it is probably hard to believe that Haley would be 18 years old today. It's her birthday. Even after all these years, her family has never given up hope that she will come home someday.
Yeah, 18, graduating, prom, all the things we should have got to see, but didn't.
For Haley Cummings' grandmother, the pain of her disappearance gets worse with each year she's gone.
I know she's grown up, but I don't know. You know, how tall is she? What color is her hair? It's hard to think that you don't even know what your grandchild looks like. But I always see her happy because she was always happy.
You got a backpack full of goodies, didn't you?
Haley Cummings lived in Satsuma with her father, Ronald, and her younger brother, Junior. At the time she was last seen, her dad's girlfriend, Misty Crosland, was babysitting the children while their father worked the midnight shift. She said Haley disappeared from bed. Her great-grandmother has never forgotten that night. The call from Ronald.
Somebody stole my child.
His voice screaming at me, somebody stole my daughter. Somebody stole my daughter. My daughter's gone. I need you here. And I started walking up and down the road looking and calling her, hoping that she would answer me. Because surely, nobody didn't take her. I couldn't believe it, that somebody took her. I mean, she had to be there somewhere, but she wasn't. She was gone.
She was in her pajamas. We were sleeping. Okay. All right. You said your back door was wide open? Yeah, it was brick. Like a brick on the floor. Like when I went to sleep, the door was not like that.
Misty Crosland said when she went to bed that night in this bedroom, Haley was sleeping right next to her. Hours of searching turned into days, then weeks, months passed, and now years. There's been no sign of Haley. After all these years, the wall dedicated to Haley inside her great-grandmother's home has grown. And these two women have been steadfast in their belief Haley is still alive.
And there are too many children in the past year since she's been gone that have been found, and they've been gone longer than she has. But there they were. They were alive. Why can't I keep believing that she's alive? Those children were. And they came back to their families. We just have to wait for our turn, for her to come back to us, for somebody to have the guts or the heart, whatever it takes, to tell us where she is. or how to find her.
That pain, you just feel it sitting across from them. Every time I've interviewed them, it's always been the same. Now, there was never any evidence that Haley died, and her body has never been found, as I mentioned, and it's why her grandmothers think that she was kidnapped and just hasn't been able to get away. They hope that now that she is 18 and adult, that she will be able to make her way home. If you have any information about Haley Cummings' whereabouts or what happened to her 12 years ago in Putnam County, please call Northeast Florida Crime Stoppers by dialing 1-888-277-8477.
I know you've kept in touch with investigators through the years. They have their own theories?
They certainly do, and we have talked about it for a number of years here. I want to be very clear. I mean, they do believe that Haley Cummings is dead, as much as her family doesn't want to believe that. They believe that something happened to her and that she died that night, February 10th of 2009. They also believe that the last person to see her alive, Misty Crosland, has not told them everything about what happened. But you know, she was never charged. She has always denied any wrongdoing. She is currently serving time in prison, a long sentence on an unrelated drug trafficking charge.
And she doesn't get out of jail for what, another 10 years?
Yeah, 2031 is her release date. Now, Haley's dad, also in prison for drug-related charges, gets out next year. He loves Haley, he says, and he plans to look for her as soon as he gets out. Much more on this story, by the way. Look for the background by searching news4jax.com/Haley.
7:39. We continue to follow a breaking traffic alert as you look live from Sky 4 on 95 southbound in St. Johns County. Crews trying to clear some of the lanes right now, but you look at that backup in these southbound lanes right now. Melanie is live on the scene right now from our mobile newsroom. Mel.
Hey, good morning, Bruce. So we did just approach the backups. It's fine until you start to approach 9B, that split there. So let me show you what exactly we are sitting in right now. So we're pretty much stopped. We do move just ever so slightly. You know, you have a lot of people trying to navigate, figuring if they get off on 9B, maybe they'll be able to bypass it, but then that area is starting to stack up. We also had another accident as we were approaching this area. A ladder fell off of a vehicle, and that wasn't really causing that many backups, but it just, we knew what was to come. So let me give you an overhead shot, and I can kind of pan over, because to the right where you see people moving in that direction, they're trying to get out of this mess. They're like, let's go 9B. As you've been hearing Lena cover this, that is an option, but again, it's starting to stack up as well. So let me just take you back down to this ground level. Stopped lights, that is certainly what you're going to see. So if you can avoid this and just keep it locked on News4Jax, we'll let you know when it clears. But right now, not much moving here on 95 South. We will be covering this throughout the morning, and we'll be right back after the break.
We know the Delta variant of COVID continues to surge. We know that younger people are at risk. Hospitalizations are growing. In Dallas, it's so bad, the ICUs are full. If a child's in a tragic accident, they have to be transported by helicopter to other cities. Can things get that bad here? Joining me on the morning show, epidemiologist Dr. Jonathan Cantor with the Penn Center for Epidemiology. So school's back in session. The Delta variant is unrelenting. Is this the most dangerous time in the pandemic for our kids?
Well, I think it's definitely one of them. You know, it's very difficult to gauge whether now with the Delta variant, it's a scarier thing than right early on when we had just plain variety COVID, because then we had no vaccines available. So when we look at the community as a whole, of course, we're in a better position now because we've got vaccines. The problem is the deployment of those vaccines has not always been as broad as we would like, particularly in Florida and other states. So the question is going to be, how well is that vaccine deployment in older adults and in younger adults as well going to help protect our kids? Certainly with the ability of the new Delta variant to spread much more aggressively, it definitely raises concerns about our kids and about how well they can do in school and how safe we can keep them.
Look, medical experts have shared the best practices to keep our kids safe, but swaths of kids remain unmasked, unvaccinated. A good segment of the population wonders, are we failing our kids? Are we?
Yeah, it is a challenge and it's a difficult situation. I mean, you could certainly argue that the rollout of a vaccine for children has been slower than we would like. That said, unfortunately, that has to go through the safety steps that are required, right? Kids are not just small adults. We can't simply say, hey, the vaccine works in adults. Let's go ahead and give a smaller dose to our kids. That's not the safe way to do it. So definitely we want to make sure that whatever we're going to give our kids is going to be safe. The other thing to keep in mind is that we've got to balance that, right? Kids over 12 have had access to the Pfizer vaccine now for months. So some of them have received that. A lot of them have not. But those younger kids, that's where it's particularly concerning. And we're in a really, really difficult position. And we really need to help to re-emphasize to our kids that, it's not fun to wear a mask, but at the same time, kids are resilient. Kids can get used to anything, and getting used to wearing a mask is a heck of a lot better than getting used to dealing with the downstream effects of getting long COVID or even worse.
And now a number of experts are saying the Delta variant may just be the beginning. You've got the Epsilon and Lambda variants that are looming, and there's concern they may evade vaccines. And that information comes from a study that's not peer-reviewed yet. Is there cause for additional concern?
I think there's definitely cause for concern. Anthony Fauci has already raised concerns about whether or not he's talking about Lambda or just any other future variants. When you have a virus that is spreading so aggressively through a population, you always get these variants, you always get these mutations, and some of those mutations may selectively allow the virus to be more transmissible and or to evade vaccines. So there's definitely concern. Early concern from South America with Lambda showed that it did take over very aggressively there. So the question is going to be, how effective are our vaccines going to be against it? What we do know right now is that the best thing we can do to protect ourselves, our families, and our communities is to get ourselves and our families vaccinated and to wear masks, certainly when we're indoors, follow CDC guidelines, and as much as possible, just to be smart about things. But again, we don't know what the future is going to hold. If there's anything everyone's learned from the pandemic, is that it is very difficult to predict which ways things are going to go. Just a couple months ago, we were all very excited. We were not wearing masks. We were having a really great time. And now already look at where we are. So we don't know what's going to happen next. It's good to just do the right thing, follow CDC guidelines, and do whatever you can to keep yourself, your family, and your community safe.
Dr. Jonathan Cantor, always appreciate your expertise. Have a great day. If you have a student heading off to college, they may be clueless as to how to do their own laundry. That's where Consumer Reports comes in.
I'm trying to teach my kid this before he leaves. All right, so consumer investigator Lauren Verno has some laundry hacks. And you know what? These are some lessons we can all learn from.
Here's a pop quiz before we begin our laundry lessons. Hot or cold, together or separate, full or not full. Knowing the right answers to those 3 questions will turn any college student, or even you, into a laundry pro. Gabriella Garita is heading off to college, and she's fully prepared to tackle her own laundry when she gets there.
I think I actually started doing my own laundry in like 7th or 8th grade.
Gabriella's head start will pay off, says Consumer Reports' Keith Flamer. He's found there's always a laundry lesson to learn when you're a novice or when you've been laundering as long as Gabriella. Lesson 1, keep it cool for the most part.
Hot water accounts for 90% of a washing machine's energy. We've been conditioned to think that everything needs to be sanitized and washed in the hottest water.
Consumer Reports tests have found detergents nowadays are much better at removing dirt and stains at lower temperatures. So reserve the hot water for tackling oily stains or for washing sheets and towels if a family member is sick. For everything else, check the care label and opt for cold water when you can. Lesson 2, less is more. Never overload your washer. It can damage the machine and it won't clean as well if it's packed to the gills. The same is true when it comes to detergent.
Many people are under the false impression that more detergent will get your clothes cleaner, but too much detergent is bad for the environment. Plus, it can leave more residue on your clothes.
And finally, lesson 3. Yes, keep your laundry separated. Mixing loads on most cycles causes more fabric friction, which can shorten the lifespan of your clothes. And Gabriella has her own laundry lesson. Fold your clothes as soon as they're done drying. That way you are done and won't have to worry about it later. Consumer Reports says the cycle you choose on your machine is important if you want your clothes to last longer. While you may rely on the normal cycle a lot, did you know that's the wrong cycle for your jeans? Yep, we have the right cycles for whatever you're trying to wash in a quick video right now on our website. And what about those stinky clothes and stubborn stains? We have help for all of that too. Just go to newsforjax.com/consumer reports and look for a direct link inside this story. I'm consumer investigator Lauren Verno, Channel 4, the local station.